Hey guys, we're live. Um, very exciting to have you guys here. As you know, the purpose of this webinar is to talk about fintech. I think that everyone that joined this webinar understand the importance of fintech to economy, and our fintech has been instrumental and exciting over the past few years, and this is exactly what we would like to tackle over this conversation. I'm representing Flashpoint Venture Capital. We support founders from CE and Israel, and together on this call, we have a couple of our great portfolio companies that joined us. But we're not the main part of this party, so I would like to start with giving the stage for the people on this panel and to let them introduce themselves. So let's start one by one. Let's see, who do we start with? Daryl, do you want to start?
Cool, no pressure, number one. Cool, thanks Oz. Hi everyone, good to meet you. I'm Daryl Gaselta, CRO and co-founder of Crowded. Originally South African, lived for 11 years in Israel. That's where we really started things. Now I've moved to Miami, specifically, for Crowded. Originally started within the in-game advertising space, so the annoying pop-ups typically, and selling on the advertising side of things. Then I joined a small startup called Graduate, really from inception all the way to Series A, and then eventually as head of sales, we got acquired by a private equity firm. And then I've dabbled within the inclusion and accessibility space, so selling, really software that makes your websites accessible for people with disabilities. And then ultimately joined, my colleague today, Daniel, our CEO, in starting Crowded. Really, my background comes from the nonprofit space, selling to higher ed, to institutions, main focus in the US, but across the world typically. And his background is from JP Morgan, the banking space, and together we've, brought up Crowded, and from inception really. And I guess we'll share more about Crowded as we go. But it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I think that, Daryl, if you want to share a few words about Crowded and what you guys are doing, feel free.
Okay, cool. So typically Crowded is focused on the US market. We tailoring and targeting 501c nonprofit organizations. Now, these types of organizations are typically fragmented. What does that mean? They have national organizations with chapters underneath them, right? Fragmented chapters across the entire country. So what we do is, we partner with the national organization. We get them to push our banking application, our digital bank, across to all their chapters. Their chapters then collect with us. So we have a processing system within the bank specifically. We bank them in FDIC insured accounts. And then we offer them unique ways to spend with expense cards, per diem cards. Ultimately, because they're doing everything with us, right, that allows us to file their 990, their tax form, automatically for them. We report that to the national organization, which reports that ultimately to the IRS. So it's really an all-suite banking solution for these types of fragmented organizations. And a big part is the compliance and the taxation on the back end.
Awesome. Izik, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me, Oz, and the team. So we in GeoX, first, my name is Izik. I'm the CEO of GeoX. In GeoX, we provide property intelligence for insurance carrier, mainly coming by leveraging aerial imagery and AI. And we provide insights to insurance carrier when they are doing risk analysis for underwriting or for actuary. And also we provide data on quoting level because eventually insurance carrier really limited on how much adjuster they can send out. So we help them to understand the full picture of the property and understand what the risks they take from wind, hail, flood, wildfire in the United States, and also earthquake. So we have many clients, for example, in Japan by earthquake, and we have many clients in Australia that using us for flood and for wind and hail, and of course many clients in the United States that using us for wind, hail, and also flood. So we provide this indicator for insurance carrier to eventually mitigate the risk and understand better what they are insuring. And also we helping on claim department to understand after natural disaster what's happened. So we provide damage assessment after natural disaster. We have many clients, and also FEMA using us, Federal Emergency Response of the United States. So we always happy to help the insurance carrier to understand better what is the risk and what they can do better for their clients. So, yeah.
And brilliant business. You know, Izik, every time that people are watching the news and see some catastrophe happening, you guys are probably cheering. Anyway, so let's move on. Serge, Inxy Payments.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Guys, it is an honor to be in one of these amazing companies here and amazing people. Thanks for inviting us. So I'm Serge, co-founder of Inxy Payments, and we are helping regular Web2 clients to increase their revenues by adding crypto as a payment method. And we can also convert it on the fly to the fiat and settle the bank account. And also we help them to reduce costs on the mass payouts by averagely 3 to 4%. So our main aim is to help other businesses to grow by providing them simple, reliable solution, fully compliant and accountant friendly. So that's my lead.
Okay, Omri.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Well, it's great having us here. So I'm Omri. I'm the founder and CEO of Bllink. We provide a financial platform for buildings. We especially focus on residential buildings. And basically, we allow managers and tenants to make all financial processes and aspects in a click of a button. So for the tenants, we allow to make all different payments for the building with an app, a payment app, especially for the building. And for the managers of the building, we allow them to track and monitor all financial activity in the building. And actually, we take all the data that we collect and we enhance that into more financial services that we simplify for building managers. We operate in the Israeli market and in the US market. We have a large customer base in Israel. We're growing rapidly. We're processing today over $250 million shekels, which is around $70 million a year. And this market actually is really, really huge. And we see that there's a lack of solutions for buildings when it comes to financial management. So this is us providing their solution.
Awesome. Last but definitely not least, Guillaume.
Hello, guys. Nice to meet you. I feel a bit like I'm the Dark Vader here, because number one, I could probably be the father of some of you. And number two, I moved to the dark side because I used to be, like you guys, 20, 30 years ago, a young entrepreneur in the Fintech industry. Because I started my first Fintech company in 1995. So I'm not sure if all of you were born already at the time. I moved into payments. I got the very first electronic money institution license 2010. Then moved into crypto, and now I'm managing a traditional bank. But of course, there is a catch because we are one of the few crypto bank. So very, very happy to be surrounded by a young Jedi of fintech here.
Exciting. And Guillaume, don't hesitate interrupting during the conversations. I think that you can contribute a lot from your experience, and both on the dark side and on the light side. So we're going to use you definitely in this webinar. So guys, I think that the first question that we wanted to hear all of you kind of commenting on is that as you know, traditional financial institutions still dominate many sectors. So how do you see fintech startups coexisting, competing, or collaborating with them? Daryl, can we start with you one more time?
Sure, why not? I guess we can talk on a sort of personal level as Crowded, right? I think we at the moment, I mean, we've really taken on the word embedded finance, and we kind of do all three, right? We coexist, right? So we do have a lot of organizations that are banking with us, and let's say like their local Chase or Wells Fargo, etc. And we've built it that way specifically as, there's certain interest rate products and certain things that we don't offer as of yet. So we allow them to coexist, and they use us from an operational standpoint. At the same time, we are competing with them, right? We are taking a lot of business away from them in our case. And, because we've digitized things and, based on our use case, they're looking for more digital solutions rather than the typical antiquated banking within the US, right? And collaborating, I mean, technically we're a digital bank, right? So we've partnered with a physical bank. So really depending on the type of bank, if they are more sort of outward thinking and forward thinking, right? They're looking to digitize themselves, like our partner bank, Transbeco's bank, right? And they've also given us permission to go after really the types of organizations that are typically underbanked that they wouldn't be touching. So we're very much collaborating with them at the same time. So, from our perspective, at least, we kind of see it in all three, and, the relationship we've built a way where we can work with all three typical ways. So, yeah.
All right. Exciting.
I'll try also to answer this question, because we actually also work with a lot of financial infrastructures. And we believe that today we're not competing with them because they provide us with the rails and the infrastructure for us to build on top of that our financial product. I think that today the financial institutions, the traditional ones, are not providing better solutions or good solutions for new areas, specializes that they haven't done before. And that's why there's a lot of startups trying to provide solutions for that. And we use those rails. We're not trying to compete with those banks. I think that in the future, that when the traditional financial institutions will realize that they need to operate with those startups and not compete with them, the end user will have the best benefits from all of it. So this is what we're doing also.
Sounds good. Before giving the stage to Izik, again, just to remind you guys that people are not necessarily following up with the introduction and then the background of the company. So every time that you answering, try to give again a very short reminder of like what the business is doing. It will help people to get the context. So Izik, stage is yours.
Yeah, I think in the insurance space, it's a very traditional market. I'm talking with many direct new startup that's try to selling insurance direct to the clients, but eventually, if it's a P&C, for example, insurance, it's quite impossible to take the client base from the traditional company carrier. So eventually, we're here to make sure that this carrier will be able to understand better what they are doing with their business, because eventually every market have this disruptive behavior, but in insurance it will not be disruptive behaviors in terms of it will replace all the players on this game. It will be which traditional insurance will be much more better, much more efficient from his competitor will win more of the market size. Of course, no one will take like more than if it's United States, no one have the capacity to take more than 5%. Like State Farm is have like 5% of the market, and they are the biggest by far from all the competitors. But eventually, everyone will have easy share, and we're here to make sure that our client will be more efficient, more cost effective. Eventually, it will go back to the end user. That people like us that each year increasing the payment for insurance. So maybe it will be reduced, or maybe it will even stop, and be able to prepare themselves and prepare their property and casualty for the next natural disaster, and we'll be happy to get better service from the insurance carrier, and we're here just to accelerate that. So.
Awesome, exciting, Serge.
Yes, we work with, yes, I'm Serge from Inxy Payments. We do the crypto processing for businesses, usually web to businesses. So we work with multiple money institutions, but we still see that majority of old-fashioned banks are still trying to fight the progress and not willing to collaborate, perceive any crypto activities, any crypto connections as high risks, and not even considering that we have, low risk clients, we do tough KYB, KYT, ML policies, and so on and so forth. So we have to help our clients to onboard in financial institutions, banks which are crypto friendly. And thanks, Guillaume, for being here, because it's like very little percentages of the banks are really crypto friendly. And we see that in the nearest futures, though those who would be more friendly to these types of industries will actually flourish. And those who aren't, unfortunately, will lose the market shares. And well, I'm not sure that they will die, but definitely they will lose huge percentages of the market. So I hope that this situation will change in the nearest future.
Okay, so Guillaume, first of all, first question is, are you trying to fight the progress or are you joining it? And then what else do you have to do in terms of like comments on what you heard from the startups here?
Maybe I can give you some insights from behind the scene, okay? Because I was 30 years into the fintech industry. And when I moved into more traditional banking, I was expecting that there would be an important step into regulation, obligations, okay? And actually it's not one step or two steps, it is a full stair. I was completely blown away, and I think that's one of the main reasons why traditional banking is way behind fintech in terms of innovation and even understanding, is that number one, because of the regulation, the obligation we have, okay, it's much more difficult to innovate and try new things, okay? I would say, so I used to run electronic money institution business. We had the possibility to create virtual IBAN, to issue prepaid cards and so on, which looks something very similar to traditional banking. It's not. I would say today the obligation is at least 5 times heavier into traditional banking, okay? And it's at the cost of agility. Number two, the mindset of the banks and the expectations. I mean, as a customer, you don't expect your bank to be the innovative company trying the latest stuff, okay? You want a conservative approach where you want to make sure everything is working well. It's something which is, in terms of expectation, quite conservative, even from the client side, okay? Now, in terms of IT, you have to understand that traditional banks have to live with systems which are 50 years old. Swift was invented in the 70s, okay? It's running on old server called AS400, okay? You have to be compatible with that. So it's not compatible with the latest API connectivity, okay? So the legacy is also a huge weight, okay? So I would say that even if as an entrepreneur, I'm willing to push the system, I'm willing to innovate, it's very difficult. For example, I'm trying to upgrade the core banking system we have, okay? I've been into the demo of the top 10 software, and coming from the fintech industry where everything looks like from the web within a simple click, you access a new screen, functionalities. No, there, I've been offered really old software, old-fashioned, at the cost of $2 million per year, okay? which is completely insane. And it doesn't allow us to go into the innovation sector. So I feel the bank will do spin-off, the bank will do partnership, but because of the regulation, because of the IT, okay, it's very difficult for banks to innovate. Or you start from scratch, like Revolut did. You start as a fintech, and then you move into the banking system, but you started with your own IT interfaces.
Okay, it shoots me right next to the next question. So exactly like that, scaling fintech solutions can be difficult due to trust, compliance, the infrastructure limitations that you mentioned. So how are you guys navigating these hurdles to drive adoption and growth in your company? Let's go the other round. So Serge, stage is yours.
Can you repeat it once again, please? Because I have some lags in
sure.
the
So
internet. And also, I was not ready to
scale.
be first.
No worries, no worries. So scaling fintech solutions, it's not easy. It's difficult. We know a couple of reasons: the infrastructure limitations in the IT that Guillaume mentioned, issues with compliance, regulation, trust that needs to be established. So how are you dealing with that in your company in order to drive success and growth?
That is a good question. It's really tough.
Thank you.
I've been in many companies and many startups previously, and the fintech, damn, it is the hardest. I mean, the complexity is tremendous. Regulation, security, IT infrastructure, and you have to deal with all the things. And also, global approach, different regulations in different countries. And there is no clear guidelines and rules. And I think this is the most problematic part, because if you're trying to navigate globally, you have to consider everything and take it to the account. And also, there is a lot of initiatives from European Union regulations, like MiCA rules, and which are not really clear as well. And it seems that they're trying to toughen it, and which is clear and definitely it should be done, but it's still not clear in some cases. And I think this is the main problem right now. And there is like a few, majority of players in the field are afraid that, the regulators are trying to make it tough and make it super strict, which will lead to the point that some of the companies will have to move to other jurisdictions, which is not really good. And I mean, in terms of the clients, if it would be too hard for them to comply, if it would be too, tough for them to do what is necessary, they will just switch to another jurisdictions or to another companies which are not European compliant. And that's what actually in my mind, what I'm really worried about. And what we do, well, definitely we do a lot. We talk with the regulators, we talk with the legal guys and the structures and the guys who are building the solutions, and we're trying to make life easier for our customers, because this is the majority and like main point, to make their life easier, not harder. And so it's a balance. We're trying to play with both, to be fully compliant and to give them as the smooth solution both for end customers and for the merchants. So it's super hard, but it's super interesting. So I'm pretty positive in this case. I do believe in the bright future, no matter what, we will find the solution, but it's like pretty challenging, I would say.
Okay. Izik?
Yeah, so we in GeoX we provide property information for insurance carrier to make the decision much better by using telemetry and AI. And definitely, it's very hard to move with insurance carrier, at least from when we coming to the P&C carrier. They are very old-fashioned guys, and they really need to be cautious with the price they're increasing, because eventually they increase very drastically the price every time. If we're just looking on the CPI from yesterday, we see that the biggest item there is insurance and P&C insurance. They're increasing the prices all the time. Every year almost, we can see that in the CPI is enormous influence by insurance, and especially on the P&C. So they always need to justify why they're increasing the premium, why not, and always they have conflict with the government. So we just hear about the wildfire in California that happened right now. So they have huge conflict when the insurance carrier want to go out because of the regulation. But the regulation is force them, if you want to stay in California, you have to insure everyone. So we see many pain points of the insurance carrier, and very scary to do something wrong. So and when we enter into insurance carrier, we build with insurance carrier the strategy, how to use us in terms of the pricing. If we show high risk or low risk, you need to maybe give discounts, or maybe you need to increasing the price, and maybe you need to avoid. So it's a very hard decision to make as insurance carrier. And we here, as our experience, because we don't work with one insurance carrier, we work with many insurance carriers. So we already saw what if you're increasing or if you give a discount, what is how it's influence on your book, and of course on your end clients, and especially also on the brand that you try to build yourself. So I think we use this as an advisor in this time to build the trust and to create a confidence through our clients. And eventually, how we build also the trust is a part of our POC and part of our test. So we don't want to, from insurance carrier, to start to use us from the beginning. We want to understand what is the influence of our data through his book. So we request for him to provide us over the last 5 years all the data that you have on your current portfolio, and some of the addresses and some of the locations that actually claim you, and some of the locations that not claim you. And we will show you over the last 5 years, if you use GeoX, what was your ROI, what was your benefits, and how much profit you can get out of your existing book without to do nothing, just using GeoX. And this is very appealing for our client. And I think this is eventually what we find that's very work with to convince our client to use us and to move very quick. So when they see their profit they can get with us, so it's much more easier to convince to move forward, and of course to build advisory or consulting trust between us. It's also very beneficial. Yeah.
Sounds good. Good luck on that. We're going to cash out when you succeed. So Omri, stage is yours.
Great. So when it comes to scaling our business, so I'll remind everyone, we're providing a financial platform for buildings. It means that we're a B2B2C company. We're making the sale to the building manager, and then it's on us to convince all the entire tenants of the building to make payments through our app, because it's not mandatory. And the two main issues for scaling is trust, first of all, and market education, because people are used to making payments for several things in a specific way, and it takes a lot of efforts and a lot of resources to make them change their habits. So we invest a lot of that in just educating people that they can make payments to the building in other ways. And for the trust, which is more interesting because we have a lot of solution to increase trust, this was our biggest issue when we just started, trust, because nobody knew us. And so none of our customers wanted to use our platform and put all their money in our platform. And what we decided to do, because we have the advantage of geographic locations for every building, we just started to take a few buildings in specific neighborhoods and just give them the product for free and having them using it for free. And once they used it for free and people around them, buildings around them saw that they're using our product, it created the trust that we're talking about. Today, when we have thousands of buildings, we don't have the trust issue anymore. And every time a new customer raises this question about trust, we just reference to other customers that already worked with us several years, and it eliminates the trust completely. For market education, if anybody in the panel here has a great solution for market education that doesn't take a lot of resources, time and money, please share with us, because it's something that we're trying to fight every day.
Sounds good. Daryl?
Cool. Yeah, I think, there's a common topic of regulation and compliance here, as we're hearing. From our side, in terms of the way we work as a company, right, we're dealing with nonprofits, and a lot of the chapters or organization across the country are volunteers. So if you think it's hard to open up a bank account, imagine coming as a volunteer of an organization and trying to open up a bank account, right? It's almost impossible. It's very difficult. That's really where it's made it more scalable for us, was having this partner bank, right, who understand our use case, who understand the types of organizations that we work with, which allow us to get those bank accounts approved quickly, right? So that's probably, in terms of making it more scalable, is really where that relationship comes into play. Compliance, right, continually growing, where we are as a company and the number of clients. We've just hired an internal compliance officer, right? So, there's a lot of no-nos across, and what you need to do and what you should be doing, right? So that's obviously, a big topic and sort of, frame of mind for us. At the same time, in terms of trust, right, ultimately, firstly, our accounts are FDIC insured, right, up to $250,000. But where we sort of went to market to build the trust, right, when we launched, was we went to a lot of chapters of these organizations. So we went, we are B2B to C, but we went to a couple of C's first, essentially. The chapters, got them to bank with us, got them to trust us, and ultimately use that for introductions, to these larger parent organizations. And same as Omri, now we're in a place where we have enough, as I like to define them, as sort of whales in the different industries that we're working with, which makes it much easier to open the door and say, we're working with X, X, and X. So the trust is building as we go. But yeah, and then again, market education, right? You're dealing with people who don't sometimes know that you exist, and that's really, that's helped us go to the C's to let them know, right? So in our case, the chapters can sign up for a bank account directly on our website. That tells us, okay, we're banking one chapter of a main organization. Then we go to that national organization and we say, your chapter is banking with us. And, that's, so we kind of land and expand from bottom up a lot of the time, also obviously the direct, reach out to those national organizations. So it's a bit of a mix of how we work. That makes sense.
It does, and it's exciting. Guillaume, what do you think about the answers that you just heard, and what do you think that the guys are perhaps missing dealing with banks and financial institutions? Unmute you.
Yes, okay. So first of all, you have to realize that a fintech is a very specific kind of startup. Why? Because you have the same challenges as a young organization, as a traditional startup, but number one, you evolve into an environment where you have a lot of regulation, much more regulation than the other startups. And number two, in front of you, you have gigantic, very powerful dinosaurs, okay, who are not very happy to see you being successful, okay? They have the money, the power, they can lobby the regulator, okay? So for me, you really, as an entrepreneur, if I may give you an advice, have to take that into account. And out of all the comments I heard, there is, to me, one thing which is missing. It's at some point, as an entrepreneur, you have to move from being a disruptor, okay, to kind of embracing this environment. You will have to accept that you will lose pace into innovation. You do not, as an entrepreneur, drive a company of 10 people like you drive a company of 100 people, okay? Your interlocutor in front of you in the insurance business, when you are speaking to the C-level in the insurance business, those people are listed on the stock market, they manage billions of dollars. When you start to speak to the C-level of large banks, okay, those are people who are from a completely different culture, but they have to be your peers. You have to work with them. So you have kind of to transition from the young entrepreneur disruptor managing the startup as a club of friends to something more traditional. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to do. And so today I'm managing a traditional bank. I'm about to be 50 years old. It would have been impossible to me to do that at 25, okay? Because I was not mature enough. I would not have accepted the challenges I have today. So to me, yourself, as an entrepreneur, you are the biggest asset of your company, but also you may be the biggest obstacle.
Very, very interesting, Guillaume. Yeah, so if we want to take to continue with that on like a more personal note, and I think that we discussed sort of like the challenges that are associated with the industry, but maybe to speak about more about the biggest challenges that you guys are facing today, and it can be again on regulation if that's the case, but it can also be on just adoption, the way to pull people, clients into the business, if it's funding or anything else. What is it that you guys are facing and how do you do it? Let's start with Omri.
Great. So yeah, we talked a lot about regulation, and definitely right now, because there's a lot of challenges, and they're not. They're also already all the time. They're just replacing the challenges. And for us, the current challenge, one of them is regulation. How we tackle it. So there's a lot of ways to tackle regulation. I think the easiest way is to just be regulated, and like Gizmo said, it just slows you down, and it's not always the best solution to be regulated and be exactly like you should be. How we do it? So first of all, we push the limits and as far as we can. Okay, we push the limits as far as we can, and we use a lot of the time third parties to be regulated through them. And once the line of business that we're testing is big enough, then we'll be regulated by ourselves. And so I think the biggest challenge for us right now is regulation, and we tackle it just step by step. But one thing that we do not do is that we do not set the regulation and be compiled by the regulation as the first thing.
Daryl?
Yeah, I think Guillermo also touched on it, right? I think where, we are innovators, we are disruptors, we want to scale as quick as possible. Our product team are building like crazy and building quickly, but ultimately we're still held to the bank regulations, to the products that we want to release, right? We need the banks to agree to it. We need, so there are sort of, as you grow up, as you say, there are sort of those things that you have to comply with. I think that's probably a challenge, right? As you want to scale, right? You're still working with an antiquated institution or not a scalable institution, and they've got their foundations and how they're built, and you can't really go much quicker than how they allow you to typically. And they're not going to bore you again on the regulation and the compliance side, but again, that's probably the biggest challenges as we said.
Okay, Inxy, Serge.
Yes, I was really. I like this idea of of these dinosaurs, and by Guillaume, it's pretty interesting idea. And what we're doing actually, we are having a lot of mentors and advisors from the regular banks as well, because we have to learn the basics to survive here. So we mix in our culture of like startups and fast-paced environment with those experiences of the regular banking institutions, because of course it's pretty different from like fast changing environment, and it's very let's say in some cases old-fashioned, but it's how it is. And also the second point is that we are working in the crypto space, and definitely like now is a good time to be in, because it's like all-time high. There is a lot of hype, which is resulted in a more adoption. So for example, in previous year, it was almost 8% of the crypto adoption around the globe, which is almost 3 times more than the year before. So in this case, it's pretty good for the whole industry, even though we are working in, I would say, 2.5 space. So we're building a bridge between regular Web 2 businesses, Web 3, helping our clients to navigate there and be safe, and convert these fluctuating cryptos into the euros on the fly or in stable coins, so they will be sure that it is not going up and down, which is crazy for accounting especially. So we're trying to adapt and use the best what we could from the market, from the advisors, from the mentors, and also we're trying to to hold the spirit of fast-paced environments and help our team to grow. Also focusing on our partners to help them grow faster. So it's like this circle in the end. So that's mainly it.
Okay, Izik.
I think in our side is more awareness of the insurance carrier, to understand that they have the solution, the right solution, and to find the right people inside of the insurance carrier, because eventually insurance carrier is a huge organization, thousands of people, and 10,000s of people sometimes. So we need to make sure that we have the relevant person to make the decision and to see and validate, okay, it's great, let's I like it, let's move forward. And I think this is where we find ourselves most struggling most of the time, is to find the right person that have the decision that you can make for the insurance carrier, because eventually the insurance industry and insurance, it's many times they're very, no one fired because they choosing IBM. So sometimes they need to choose more innovative way and better way to do their work. And I think this is, and to eventually when they're choosing us and get the profitability and get the ROI, it's much more easier to move them forward to increasing their capacity with us and everything. So I think the first challenge for us is to find the person that say, okay, great, you're a small startup, you're only 50 employees. Maybe I have another alternative with thousands of employees, IBM and type, but still I choose you because you are much better than them. And I have the guts to do that. So this is where really we looking for from insurance carrier from our side, and this is the main number one challenge that we are having.
Cool. So Guillaume, you're not leading a startup, but it's still interesting to hear what is the biggest challenge that your company is facing today.
Maybe I'd like to reply to the comments I heard, and again to compare regular startup and fintech startup. For any entrepreneur, your company will or could stop if you do not meet the demand, okay? If you don't have customers. But again, there is something very specific in the fintech space, is that you can be super successful in the fintech space, but you can be shut down by the regulator, okay? Most of you have noticed that there is part of the market which is not being addressed or not addressed correctly. You identified new business cases, new needs from the market, and you started by innovating into the space. At first, regulator, competitor, they do not notice you. They don't know you're there, okay? So you can grow quite freely because the practice you are creating is not very well known or probably not very well defined into the regulation because you are entering new territories, new usage. But as you grow, you are becoming more and more visible. And my suggestion would be really to try to educate the regulator because you want to be proactive. You want to be the guy going to the regulator, explaining them who you are, what to do, how it is a benefit for everyone, how you care about protecting the users. Because if you don't, it will be the big dinosaurs who will go to the regulator and will say, look at those young disruptors that are doing stuff not in a compliant way, and they will come up with a regulation which will be so painful for you that it might shut you down, you know. Serge, you mentioned MiCA. I think with regards to stablecoin, okay, and I don't want to name anyone, but you understood that some guys have been super successful, so successful that they didn't even shake regulators, but even some states, okay, in charge of large currencies, okay? And as they were a bit not careful about regulation, obligation, and so on, then the regulator came with MiCA. And then it's not possible anymore to use some of the stablecoin, okay? And it's painful for everyone. So my advice would be really in terms of regulation, be proactive, talk to them, educate them for your own benefit.
Awesome, guys. So we're moving for the next phase of this webinar. Not sure that everyone have seen that, but we have this like big headline of fintech, but not sure that people actually saw that, you know, we have a company here that is doing payments, open banking, we have a company that is doing insurance, and we have a company from the crypto space. So we wanted also to tailor some of the questions for the specific companies here. So I'll start, Izik, with you and GeoX. So you guys, you are selling to banks, also to obviously insurance companies. We hear a lot on the motivation banks and insurers have today to adopt AI solutions. How serious it is, and how do you feel in terms of the budget and the actual willingness of those very large institutions to move fast in order to adopt this very exciting technology?
Yeah, so I'm a big number guys. So I like numbers. So I will drop out some statistics just for us to understand. So insurance carrier lost like $200 billion in one decade from 2000 to 2010. One decade after that, from 2010 to 2020, insurance carrier lost $520 billion. Only property, only from property, only from United States, and it's one decade. So it means average loss is $52 billion in 1 year, and only losses due to property and also United States. So if you're looking on the next decade that we are right now here, from 2020 to 2030, according to all the analysts, we're going to cross at least the $1 trillion of losses. So it's pure losses that just going from property and just from United States. So it's more than doubling each year. So it's around tripling. And as we see, like some crazy wildfire over the last years in California, that if I just discuss with insurance carrier before, like 10 years before, he will never mention wildfire as a hugest risk that you have in California. But today, insurance carrier going out of California, it's crazy to discuss with insurance carrier 10 years ago and get this sentence, we go out of California. It's unbelievable. And similar to Florida, that every time they have like enormous hurricanes, so many insurance carrier bankrupt. So this is eventually something that we see all the time, and we see there are more natural disaster, more different natural disaster. even in Europe as well, like some enormous natural disaster that happened in Germany, happened in UK, France, and west of Europe, and etc. So eventually the world is changed, and they need to adapt the new technology to make sure they are in the business and know what they are doing, and make sure they are understand better what is the risk they have and how they can eventually get provide a better service to their end clients. And we see it's not only to understand the risk, it's also to give better service to the client. This is a very interesting item because many times, for example, if you're talking about the wildfire in California, what we saw in statistics that even if you cut the brushes 5% of vegetation, 5% feet from 5 feet from your property, so it's reduced your risk very drastically. And right now we see the results in California that many properties that people actually take care on their property and make some actions, so they eventually save their houses. So this is where we want to be. We want to educate the end clients, and the biggest tool to do it is to use insurance carrier. So we're helping eventually to all the chain of from the end user to the insurance carrier and to the reinsurance. So everyone have benefits for that. So this is eventually what we want to do and what motive the market.
Exciting, exciting. Guillaume, can you put yourself on mute? You have some backward noise. And Inxy, the next question is to you. So crypto today is at all-time high. I think that people know that. Sometimes it feels that that's the only thing that people are actually speaking about today. So as a startup, how does it feel to navigate such turbulent water? Does it make your journey even crazier than the average journey of a normal startup? Happy to hear that.
Yes, thanks, Oz. Well, it's a good point to be in, to be honest. And well, the more interest, the more people will use it. So in this case, it benefits us dramatically in terms of like how many people are going into crypto space, which is good. But as I previously said, we are somewhere in the middle between Web3 and Web2. So and majority of our clients are just regular Web2 customers, and so they want just to receive payments in crypto, and well, usually just to convert it to the fiat, to settle to the bank account. And in this case, we secure these fluctuations due to the immediate on-the-fly exchange, helping them just to receive additional revenues or reduce costs on payouts in crypto, which is much cheaper. But the main problem, I think, right now, that the perception of the crypto is something illegal, something connected to the crime, and that's the main issue which we're dealing with, and we have to talk through with a lot of customers, because basically crypto is much more transparent than any other methods and payments, because it's super transparent, because you can see all the transactions from the initial transaction made on this wallet till the very end. And we actually track each wallets which is trying to pay to our service or which we are going to pay to. So we, in this case, help to secure our clients to be sure that money haven't been sent to some crime organizations, sanctioned guys or whatever, and whoever. So, and there is no chargebacks in the crypto as well. It's super fast. Like in a few minutes, your clients will receive payments, and it will cost you like 3 to 4% less. So as soon as the person try it, it's really hard to get back to the regular fiat payments. But this first step is pretty hard. So answering your question, I think it's more good than bad, but there is a lot of things to do to push it even further.
Mm-hmm. Daryl from Crowded. So sometimes in fintech, I think that it feels like everything already exists. And yet the overall picture is that many services are still missing and there is a lot of room for new innovation. What are the biggest needs you see working with US, specifically clients in the US? And when it comes to the banking services, so what are the services that they are actually missing today?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, the US, we're lucky. One, we're blessed that the banking system is pretty outdated here, which already gives us that need. Also, the US is just so big, right? A state is a country in itself, right? So nothing is really scalable here at the moment. And that's really what we're trying to do, is almost offer this type of enterprise banking solution. And yes, a lot of things do exist. There is the Stripe, and then there is the Chase, the Wells Fargos of the world. And then you've got the card programs, which are the ramps and, all those types of solutions. We kind of combine three together, put it all in one, and that's really where the opportunity comes into play. So yeah, that's really where we sort of, see the challenge, and what we're tackling and what we're looking to do is, really make a scalable solution for these underbanked types of organizations that are typically not being focused on or targeted from the mainstream banking in the US specifically.
Awesome. So Omri, from Bllink, your company started from payments, but now you are doing much more than that. Can you tell us about your journey, turning the company from one product to a platform, using the data, and how you were able to bring more and more solutions to your clients?
Great. So actually, we started as one feature company. We had a payment collection feature, which was the killer feature. Actually, today is also the killer feature. And we just had payment collection. And doing that, we saw that there's a lot more to it, and that our customers want more. They want a holistic financial software that can manage all different processes, and it will be even better if those processes will be automated. So this is exactly what we started to build. And today, on top of our payments collection, we have a holistic platform. We allow them to do all different type of financial processes. We automate 95% of our processes. That makes our customers' lives much easier. And we enhance that with data. So because we have lots of data and our customers, they behave the same, we can offer them financial services and products using the data. So today we offer a lot of financial services like loans, for example, and we do all the underwriting and the capital of the loan based on that data. And there's a lot of products that are in our pipeline, also that need to be regulated, like we talked before, and that using our data of our customers, because they're already using our product for several years and we collected lots of data and we know the behavioral of our customers, there's a lot of new things that we can offer them that are suit exactly for them. So it's been like a really tough challenge. And I think this challenge continues all the time because the customers already also develop with the company, and you need to stay sharp and be on it.
Awesome, guys. So we're almost out of time. One last question about so what's like the one major assumption about fintech today that you believe will be completely overturned in the near future? Guillaume, I would love to hear you answering that, and then whoever wants to pop up and answer that.
Yeah, so maybe I'd like to go back to AI, because I feel it will take much longer than expected, but it will be much, much, much of a disruptor, okay? I feel that in the dinosaur world, where we have lots of operations, lots of manual stuff, maybe in the coming years, 50% of the job could disappear, okay? That's something which is major, okay? The advantage of the fintech industry will be boosted by 10x because of AI. Why? Because banks will take much, much longer than all of you guys to adopt AI. Okay? They are too far away. So to me, the edge you have as an innovator will really be boosted by AI, and fintech itself will be much, much larger compared to traditional banking or the regular insurance guys, okay? So my advice would be really to look at it, to adopt it, to include it into your services.
Anyone else?
I completely agree here with Guillaume, because I also think that AI is changing everything so fast, and we actually couldn't even imagine what will happen within like 3-5 years, because even what's happening now is unbelievable. And in the nearest future, I think like in half a year max, the agents using AI plus crypto and blockchain will be already buying tickets, booking hotels, flights, paying for your taxes for a taxi, whatever, because it is already can be done even now. And it's just the first step of automation, of making your life simpler. So it will change everything completely. Like 99% of what we assume as a regular would be changed. And it's really hard even to imagine what will happen. And I'm here completely agree with Guillaume that we have to adopt, we have to learn as fast as possible and apply it to the operations, to the marketing, to the sales, to the infrastructure level, AML, KYC, and all the processes to boost it up, to make it faster, easier for the customers. So yeah, we're living in amazing times, guys. Good to be
Think
part of it.
about the process today to get a loan, a mortgage, okay, when you buy a house. It's 1 month process. You have to give papers and so on. Tomorrow, it will be 30 seconds processing, okay? You will just input your data, okay? Izik understands where is the location of the building. So AI will know what's the price, what's the risk, what's the market, and so on. They will look at your job, in which category, what are the chances you can lose your job, okay? How old are you? Where are you from? What community? Could you get divorced? What's the person? Everything, okay? And you just click a button, it will be approved or declined, okay? It's a game changer.
Absolutely. And do you remember the concept of soul-bound NFTs, which is bound to your personality, which will collect your data, like ID, profiles, education, whatever, and it will speed up this process, like as Guillaume said, yeah, like tenfold.
I totally agree, but I want to give like the optimistic view for my point of view, and I totally agree with what Guillaume mentioned. And eventually, I think in the next decade, many people will not be able to still work with the same methods like they are working, and eventually many people will find themselves out. But they will not find themselves out because of the AI. They will find themselves out because the people that using AI will be so much better than the people that don't using AI. And this is quite similar what's happened here. The carriers, the banks, the insurance, and all the companies, the dinosaurs that will use AI will be so much better from the other competitors. So they will take them out of the market eventually in 1 decade or 2. So this is eventually what we always say to the insurance carrier or to the banks or any potential client, that they need to be the first adoption. They need to lead the adoption, and eventually they will take the entire market. And we are to help them to make it happen, and to go to the next generation of the AI and Gen AI and everything that including. So we will be very happy to do that with insurance carrier and banks. So we are here to give them the tools to do the next level. So we're happy to do that. So.
Perfect, guys. So first of all, I got it. We're going to invest in the AI. Sounds exciting. So thank you guys for your time. We're going to be respectful for the people that are watching this webinar and finish up on time. So it was really great and interesting, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Oz. It was great. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Have a wonderful day.
Good day.
Cheers.